Mm-hmm.
Welcome to The Divide with Mike and Corey.
Hopefully our disagreements one day bring us all together.
So stupid. So corny and so stupid. I hope our disagreements bring us together.
Yeah, I do.
Shut up, Porter. Hey, I'm just trying to have a little friendly conversation.
Gators don't play no shit. You feel me?
This is The Divide. All right.
Are we live? There we are. Okay, here we are. Welcome to The Divide with Mike and Corey. Special Divide episode. We have Darren Maneen here. Darren from the 7Line. Thanks for coming, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, boys.
Now, I know this is something that Mike really, really wanted to set up. Me being the Yankee fan, before Mike gets to kind of fan out, I have to say, I know. Well, no, I don't know. I just have to say how envious I am that you have this company, and we'll get to how it all started and everything like that. But as a Yankee fan, if the Yankees or someone were to do something like that, if the big bad Yankees were to let them, it would make my world complete, because the merch that you have on your website is awesome. I wish it made me almost want to like the Mets, because it's creative, it's different, and more importantly, when you go to a Met game, and I've been to many with my man to my right, you just see it everywhere, which has got to be a good feeling for you.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, we're going on to season 13, I think. I started in 2009, so it's kind of taken on a life of its own. Initially, you'd start seeing people pop around the ballpark with the logo on their hat, their shirts, or whatever. Like, oh, they know what's up, you know? And now it's the kind of thing where you don't have to necessarily like what we do. Not everyone is a fan of the 7Line, but everyone at this point knows what it is. And that's pretty crazy, you know?
So I'll take this one. So take me into it, being that I know Mike knows the whole history, but of course, again, me being a Yankee fan, and for those of our viewers that are Yankee fans, I'd like to think it's about half, or hopefully more than half.
Do we have to drink every time you?
No, we should. That would be a crazy game. We'd be done by 10 minutes. But just take us into the story of the 7Line, like how it got started and how it came to be.
Well, I come from a BMX background, so back in the mid 90s, I was racing BMX all around the country. I started going on the national circuit, and a lot of friends that I had at the time were making T-shirts and selling them at the races, out of backpacks, whatever. There was really no internet yet. We're talking like 95, 96. The internet was a thing, but no one really sold anything on the internet, you know?
Right.
So I started a business. It wasn't really a business. At first, I was just making some T-shirts in art class in high school. And my teacher was cool enough to allow me to bring the art supplies home. So like the screens, she let me bring them home, and the inks and all that stuff. So I started making shirts in my basement, and that company was called Man Made. And it quickly grew within a few years after that to having distributors overseas. I was selling stuff in Japan, selling stuff in England, Ireland, Sweden. I had distributors all over the place. So it grew from just like my basement and this art class in high school to distributors worldwide. And I started sponsoring different riders that would go to contests. So basically that was like the backbone of what this is.
Right.
Fast forward a few years after that, my computer crashed. I was bartending. I was kind of getting away from riding BMX as often, but I was always a Mets fan. So I knew how to make T-shirts and how to like cultivate an audience that way. So at the time, it's like, hey, you want to go to a Mets game on a Friday night, you don't have something to wear, you're going to go to like Modell's or something, you know? And at the time, you know, I wasn't dating my wife yet, you know, going to games with girls or whatever, or, you know, bringing friends or family. I'd be like, oh, I got to go grab a shirt for someone I'm bringing to a game. I'd run to Modell's. So that kind of got me thinking. I know how to make T-shirts, and I really appreciate the whole do-it-yourself aspect of what the BMX brand was, where you print the shirts yourselves, you sell them yourself, you explain what you're doing to your fellow riders. So I was like, hey, maybe I could do this for baseball. So I made a few shirts at the end of 2009 that said I survived. And it was basically a breakdown of all the disappointments over the previous years of, you know, the collapse, the this, the that. And it said, let's go Mets 2010 underneath. And at the time, I didn't really think I was breaking any trademark infringement laws, because I wasn't planning on this being a business. It was just like a couple funny T-shirts. So I wore them to the end of the, maybe September 2009, right before the end of the season. And people were like, hey, where can I get that? And that's when I started the website and started a Facebook. And I think Instagram wasn't even a thing yet. I started a Twitter account. And during that off season of 2010 is when I kind of decided I'm going to try this as a business, as a brand. And the backbone of it was basically sell more t-shirts, go to more Mets games. Because I was going to games anyway, but now it was a way to basically fund going to Mets games. They turned into my job, and I haven't had a different job since. So that's the long and short of it, of how it started.
That's so cool. And
and by the way, I didn't mention when you were talking about the Yankees earlier. For those watching, I'm wearing Mets Fans Have More Fun t-shirts. So you guys might have your 27 championships, but I posted a video today. Actually,
I saw that. It's funny you bring that up, Darren. I saw that video.
dominating Yankee Stadium. We go, and you know what? It's a funny thing too, or maybe it's a coincidence. I doubt it, but we basically took over that ballpark. I don't know how many people we had that day, maybe like 800, 900, but our 900 were louder than like the 50,000 other Yankee fans there. And from that year on, the Yankees slowly started moving us up the ladder. That was like level 200. The next year we were in 500. And then the year after that, we were spread out over like 10 sections. And I was like, all right, now you guys are kind of just trying to quiet us down. And then we've never been back. So we did, I think 5 straight outings, 5 straight years there. And then we haven't been back since. So I'm waiting for the Yankees to suck in like 10 years when they're dying to sell tickets. And they'll come crawling back and saying, please buy our tickets. Because it was the easiest sale they ever had.
You might only have to wait like
whatever
3
it
years
is.
Everybody's deal is up and they just like forget it. But no, I saw that video.
It's so fun.
And that's what it is. I mean, when when the Mets come to town, it's I've been to Yankee Met games at Yankee Stadium. I do like the fun aspect because it's like sibling rivalry, and it's not like when Boston comes to town and it's just nothing but mayhem. So we do appreciate it.
Yeah. And it's the kind of thing too, is it's all in fun. It's all in friendly heckling. Like I'm buddies with Bald Vinny. I don't know if he goes to the ballpark anymore. He had some beef with the Yankees, I think, but he was like the head guy of the bleacher creatures for a long time. And since I became like the face of the 7-Line army, it was always like this rivalry between us, but we're friendly. And it's the kind of thing where we could talk crap on the internet. Like today I wrote bleacher creatures who as a hashtag. It's fun, it's all part of it. And I like it. I like the friendly rivalry,
Yeah, Bald Vinny, I great guy, and he did get the short end of the stick. I think they did something with his season tickets and it's this whole thing, but it's typical Yankee, give us our money or we'll get somebody else to give us our money type scenario.
So speaking of
that's what happened with us basically.
Yeah, getting kicked out. You technically got kicked out of Citi Field at one point, right? During the whole Reyes thing. Yeah, and that kind of started your surge, right? From what I understand.
Yeah, it was already kind of big at that point. I mean, nothing compared to what it is now, but I think that was 2012 or so. And, or maybe it was 2011. I don't know. Everything's a blur now. It's like 9 years ago, but yeah, there's a photo there of me holding my sign on ESPN. So don't trade Reyes. I was making t-shirts that said don't trade Reyes. And I started a thing where if you made your own don't trade Reyes sign and brought it to a game, I would then give you a free t-shirt. So people were going to all other ballparks where the Mets are playing. If the Mets are playing the Rockies in Colorado, or a fan that lived out there would make their own sign, send me a photo, I'd mail them a t-shirt. But the Mets didn't really like that the website was on the bottom. I can understand why. It was getting free publicity on national television on Sunday Night Baseball. So I'm up there with my sign, and I realized there was really nobody there. I wasn't blocking anyone's view. It was really for like just a couple seconds when Reyes was about to step in the box. It was just perfect timing and a great view. I was in a perfect spot. Which that part was planned. I mean, I learned really quickly where the photo wells were. So I had like funny signs. I like Mark Cuban, please help, or whatever. I was, making random signs. And I knew if I got there before the game started or a certain spot in the game where they'd be able to snap a photo, and the next day I'd be in like the Daily News or whatever. It was great. It was free market.
Perfect.
But I had a ticket to that section. I was in the right seat. I wasn't like sneaking in or anything, but I was showing the sign off. A security guard came down and said, hey, you can't show the sign during when the game is being played. So like in between innings or whatever, it's fine. So, all right. So I put it down, showed it again, maybe in between innings, and everyone sitting around me was all fired up. But I had some friends on the Shea Bridge out in center field. So you know what? I'm going to go back to the Shea Bridge, hang out with some friends, and watch the game from there. And some people around me asked what the sign was about or where they could, about the website. So I handed out some business cards, and then I got ejected for soliciting on their property. So it wasn't really the sign. The sign is what kind of got the eyeballs on me. Like security was probably watching me like a hawk, but they couldn't kick me out because I had a ticket to that section. But then they didn't like that I was soliciting. So then they kicked me out. And then after that, clearly I went on. I wasn't trying to get kicked out. It wasn't my intent to get kicked out. I wasn't trying to be a prick to the security guards. Everyone's got a job to do. But getting kicked out was great because the next day I was on Boomer and Carton. The New Yorker called me for an interview. I was everywhere. Every baseball, like national baseball blog was writing about this story, and it kind of escalated the website. Obviously traffic went up, and good traffic means hopefully t-shirt sales. So it helped.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's good press right there.
And I'm sorry if I ramble. I'll ramble a lot. So cut me off if you got time limit here.
It's one thing from
you guys are a match made in heaven.
Yes, we are. Well, it's. I was just gonna say the one thing about like your podcast and the posts that you the little clips on Instagram and everything is you have great stories, and it's just from the business that you created. For your love of just everything with t-shirts, obviously art and Met games. So you created this web of just pure enjoyment. So when I hear these stories on your podcast, and then the clips you play on Instagram and everything, like you just have great stories. So ramble all you want. I'll sit here and listen to them.
Yeah, it's like we're front row.
So I like posting stuff like that too, because I feel like it's now I cut you off again. I'm sorry, but like posting the clip today of us, cheering at Yankee Stadium. I feel like it's been so long that I almost forget what it's like. And I quote tweeted it from my personal account. And I was like, some people say living in the past, it's not good to live in the past. I'm like, well, fuck, I don't know if you can curse, but like, F that, I want to live in the past because I need that again, it's not even like a monetary thing. I'm not saying like, I want to sell tickets, because we don't make a dime on the tickets. We sell the tickets, but it's got a t-shirt with it. So we're making a little on the t-shirt, but whatever. Long story short, it's almost like it's been almost a year and a half since we've been back in a ballpark cheering arm to arm with a stranger, that you watch those clips and you're like, wow, like that was actually a reality. And it feels like so long ago, it's such a big part of humanity to socialize. And, none of us have been able to do that in so long. So I'm anxious to get it back,
It is a weird feeling sitting in the stands and like turning behind you and like embracing a stranger. Right. You would never do.
Hugging strangers and high fives. And, it's great.
It's better that, like in church, sometimes they're like, peace be with you. And how awkward that is. It's the opposite of that. It's like,
I'm telling you, sports brings people together. I think even the switching to football I went down to Washington or to Virginia where the Redskins play. And
Washington
football team. I'm sorry. And when I watched the Dolphins and the Washington football team play, and the Dolphins ended up winning, but we're literally leaving my dad and I are in our car, and there's just two random Washington fans in a car next to us, just waiting to get out of the parking lot, just passing us tequila bottles to swig back and forth. And I think about now COVID and how awful that was, but you share anything for sports. Hugs, handshakes, spit, whatever.
See, I've had the same experience in Philadelphia, but they were throwing beer bottles at me and my wife, and we were like navy just in blue and orange. Like I don't go in there and like wear what I'm wearing today or anything like that. Now I do because like I don't care unless I'm with my daughter or wife. And but back then we were on a date, and I swear they threw in the parking lot a beer bottle, and it was closed. That thing would have killed us.
There's nothing good comes out. At least, hopefully, Darren, we can all just share a hatred for Philly, and then kind of call it from there.
That same exact thing happened to my wife. The same exact thing. They threw a beer. We went down to Philly early. I don't know, maybe 2014 or 13 or something like that. And I was saying to my wife, like, let's not, let's cheer for them, but like, let's not go over the top. We don't want to get like beer spilled on our head or anything. So we're walking back to my car in the parking lot. She's like, that wasn't so bad. And you hear someone go, F the Mets, and they throw a beer bottle, like same exact thing,
I think that's how they say goodbye in Philadelphia. I think that's how they say goodbye. Other world. It sucks.
They did get lucky because I live like an hour away from Philly. So sometimes it's easier for me to get there and quicker and cheaper. So I go to a lot of away games there, but they got lucky because their team sucked. Then they got their stadium, so they got their fan base back, and then I think they got a little bit of cash flow. Then they were able to buy athletes. Whereas like we had the complete opposite. Shea gets closed down. It's like a freaking funeral because we lost the last game of the year. So Hojo's crying. I interviewed him about that once. And, everybody's sad. It's like a morgue in there. And now we got to go open this new stadium. And I think that's why attendance kind of struggled. The Mets were trying to get, the Wilpons were trying to get more money for those tickets. And we kind of started spinning our tires a little bit. I don't know.
Well,
that's mine.
Now without the Wilpons and this new owner you have, Darren, and I guess I have an idea how you feel about him, and similar to Mike, that's all we've been hearing about is Uncle Stevie. Now you made it known, at least I think you made it known, that you did not want ARod as your owner. Is that correct?
No, oh my God, that would have been such a disaster.
So to follow up with that question, do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
I mean, his numbers say so, but you know what, like the whole steroid thing, I don't really know how I feel about it because MLB did look the other way. It's no secret they looked the other way during the whole Bonds and McGuire and Sosa and all that stuff. So, guys are always looking for a little bit of an edge, and when everyone else around you is doing it, I guess I'm not saying like I'll go jump over a bridge, everyone else is, but the way that he went about it and the lying and trying to cover it up, and remember when he ran to the fan and sat down with Francesa and bold-faced lied to him too? I don't know. Yeah. He just seems like so much of a snake. So I don't know. I don't know where I stand on that. But as far as the ownership is concerned, even just like the troubles like him and J-Lo are going through right now publicly about their relationship. Imagine they own the team. That would be so insane. If we were going through what we're going through right now, and then we got those two boneheads fighting publicly over their, not fighting, but like, going through their, not even marital problems, they're not even married yet, but like going through their relationship woes publicly, and they also own the team. But if you saw afterwards what came up, their plans for the team was like the Mets baseball side of it was like almost secondary to the entertainment side of what they were trying to build around Citi Field being more of a destination for like concerts and J-Lo events and so on and so forth. Some stuff came out after the sale didn't go through, and we all were like, wow, we dodged such a freaking bullet with them, No, so anyway, long story short, I'm ecstatic they don't own the team.
I think that was a little bit, ARod tries to be too Shark Tanky, like when he's talking business. I think like he wants to try to be.
He's looking for that, not the flip, but that
like, and also like you just lost, so you're like trying to tell the other side that, oh well, we would have done all this for you. Like, stop.
Well, and they're all down south in a complex that was built for it, like Atlanta's complex when they built that new stadium. It's not. I guess I would call it an entertainment venue, but it's not like. Don't host these grand concerts and stuff like that. It is a nice place to go, and you can spend the day before the ballpark. But Citi Field's not set up for that. Like even like in the Bronx, they're not set up for that. It's go in, hang out, tailgate, watch a baseball game, and then kind of just enjoy yourself that way.
Well, speaking of Philly again, they have a casino now. Like right next to it, they have that Xfinity Live area that you could grab a beer and stuff. So they have a lot of more stuff. And I know you've talked about this, the 7-Line Saloon, and I get excited whenever I saw like the brewery left, and I know you had a beer with them at one point, and now we lost McFadden's, and I was like, oh no, we're gonna get it. But I think it's smart. That's your thing, and you said you didn't really want to hop into their quote unquote grave. When are we going to get
be in the ballpark?
Okay.
It's the kind of thing was there's a lot of rules. I mean, I was friendly with McFadden's went through like 8 different GMs in like 6 years, however long they were there. So that spot was kind of cursed. It's the kind of thing where if they can't get it right, then what makes me think I can, I think in general that space is just way too big. I think that it's great when like on opening day you could pack it out, but on a normal Friday, Saturday in July, when maybe the team's not playing that great, or like maybe Mets fans are away, vacation, they're at the beach, whatever it is, that place was kind of always empty and you're wasting space, So if you watch like Bar Rescue, like every spot, every seat, that's dollars. And if it's empty during a game, that's a waste. So, and not only that, like a lot of their marketing and promotions and things they could do, I think that the Mets as their landlords essentially can kind of dictate or say what they can and can't do. And I don't want to answer to anyone. So I want to have my own bar, my own spot, do whatever the hell I want, but like across the street. So whenever they develop that area, I'm sure it's going to cost way more money than I have in my bank account, but maybe I'll take on some partners or figure something out. But also, you know, I've traveled to every single park besides LA, at least in the National League. And we've partied at all these places and went to, you know, all the different towns and different spots to pregame. And the places where I always have the most fun at have an indoors and an outdoors, just like the McFadden's used to have in Philly, indoors, outdoors. McFadden's City Field, the outdoor space is like 6 feet wide where you can maybe have a drink and stand next to someone smoking a cigarette, which I'm not really into. So I want to have an indoor outdoor space, mainly outdoor, to be honest, beer garden, cornhole, you know, all that type of stuff, live music, and also have the inside, you know, bad weather or whatever. So make some money year round. But yeah, anyway, long story short, again, the 7-Line's Saloon is not coming anytime soon, unfortunately. You know, McFadden's is what it is, and McKellar's closed. So there's really nothing to do in the area. It's a ghost town over there. But when there finally is, hopefully I'm not, you know, 80 years old, because I'm not getting any younger either, you know?
Yeah. Now, Darren, I'm told that our diets are actually pretty similar, touching on like restaurants and food. Are you, Mike was telling me that you're not vegan, but you don't do like the dairy or anything like that. Is that true?
I actually am vegan now for the past like 2 months or so. I was basically what they call pescatarian. I'm sure you know what it is, for a while, where I cut out meat like 2 or 3 years ago. I think maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't know. I don't really have a date on it, because I don't like to label like, oh, I'm a vegan, you know, like I don't really try to preach that way. I just know that my body feels better, and I'm 40 years old, but I feel better now than I did when I was 25, you know? I don't know if you saw me sip, but I'm drinking a gallon of water a day. I cut out caffeine a month ago. I'm just eating better, and, you know, yeah, no caffeine. I cut out coffee a couple years ago. I was having some stomach issues, and that's kind of what started the whole no dairy. So I cut out coffee. I switched to tea. And then, you know, I noticed that I don't see much of a difference from caffeine. I used to bartend, and I'd have a cup of coffee at like 4 a.m. and then go to sleep. Like caffeine never really did anything for me. So I figured, hey, why not just cut it out and start eating better? But yeah, we were pescatarian. My wife's been a vegetarian for like 20 years. So it's easier for me too when I'm cooking at home, where we would just make the same food. But you know, I was treating myself like a couple times a year. I'd be like, oh, well, I'll have meat, but it has to be like certain meat. Like I'd get like a nice cut of steak, but I wouldn't go eat like a burger from McDonald's. You know, I was trying to limit where I was getting my stuff. And I don't want to preach too much, but the industry, the food industry, is pretty gross. And I prefer to not just look the other way with that, especially when it's going in your body. You only have one body. So I try to, you know,
I'm with you. And
fuel it with as much good stuff, you know?
Yeah, I know. The wife and I did the same thing. We'll eat fish every now and again, but for the most part, it's no dairy, no meat. Except for like this past Thanksgiving, I did cook a duck, just, you know, to try something new. But yeah, we've been off all of that, and that's our main concern was, you know, everything we've been reading, everything we've been seeing, you know, just about the food industry, especially over here in the United States. Like, where are we getting it from? And we do notice the difference right away with our bodies, just as far as recovery. We're both very active people. So yeah, right away. I mean, especially, you know, any sort of inflammation, just cutting out that meat and the dairy, especially. I mean, I never thought, especially growing up, you know, in our generation, it was like, oh, drink milk, it'll make you strong. And then you realize like how toxic that is for your body. It's
well, there's so many options now too. You know, there's so many different kinds of milk, where it's like, you know, oat milk, almond milk, soy milk, you know, coconut. There's so many different options where it's kind of, I don't want to say it's ignorant, but a lot of people that do swear by like eating steak and drinking milk, it's almost like they think it's like cooler for some reason. It's like cool to eat steak for some reason. And I'm like, you know, Tom Brady is a vegan and he's winning Super Bowls. He's like 40 whatever years old. So you know, for everyone, your body reacts differently. But you know, you should, I'm not trying to get you off the fish, but watch Fishspiracy on Netflix if you have some time. You might not eat fish.
I suggested that last night or 2 nights ago to her. I was like, oh, I've heard good things about this. Let's watch this. But she's a big animal lover and environmental. But she's like, you could watch that without me. So that's on my list to watch without her. But yeah, we definitely.
That's the same thing. That's like out of sight, out of mind. Like people don't want to watch it because if they do, they're gonna be like, oh man, they feel guilty now. They're like, now I'm not gonna eat fish anymore, you know? And we weren't eating it anyway. And then it came out, and I'm like, well, I guess we made a good choice. But if anyone wants to watch it, Conspiracy Netflix.
So so the reason I brought it up is, when you guys go out, are you talking about like, opening your own restaurant? And obviously, are you finding it easy to go out to eat more, like, especially now? I feel like within the last year, different restaurants are providing better options because of the whole, this wave of vegetarian, vegan becoming just a more popular option. Are you still finding it difficult to go out to eat? It used to always be a struggle, but I don't know. I just kind of think depending on the area, what's your take on that?
More so now, yeah, because we cut out the fish. Because like everywhere we used to go, we'd say, well, we could always add shrimp. Like instead of getting, whatever wrap it is, like grilled chicken, or like, oh, can you sub that out for shrimp? And most places would be able to do that. But now, yeah, it's pretty tough. Like over the past couple of months, straight up vegan, it's pretty hard because what are you going to ask for? Just like steamed veggies. So it's you go out and. It's almost easier just to eat at home now because we have so many options at the house. But and that's kind of one of the main reasons why my wife and I were saying like, hey, we could just open up our own little spot, nothing huge, a little vegan restaurant. And obviously the climate's not great right now for real estate and starting a brand new business, but it's kind of on the shelf right now of what we're thinking about maybe doing. Because she knows I want to open a bar, and now it's not the time to do that either. So we'll see. And that was kind of the basis behind it. Because even on Long Island, like I live out east a little bit. And you could put it in the little Google machine, like, hey, where could we eat for vegans? And there's like 6 spots on the entire island. But, and they're so far apart. There's a place in Northport that's real good. It's called some kind of elephant, like Pink Elephant or something like that. They've got a lot of options, but we got to drive a half hour to go to it, So it's, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully more places start having the option because it doesn't cost them more. And maybe it does a little bit, but, get a bag of shredded dairy-free cheese, and I guarantee someone's going to ask for it before it goes bad,
Oh,
and then you kind of, feel it out that way. But I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it gets easier.
So I want to sandwich a couple of topics that we already talked about. One was ARod. We did interview ARod. I attacked him within the first 3 minutes, and we had to delete that part of the pod.
You did, man. It was all over the
I was like, you wanted an office to be a Met, like blah blah blah. I went nuts, and he hit me right back, and he's like, oh, it sounds like a breakup song or something. Like, because I was like, dude, like you always have these stories after the fact. That's what I was trying to allude to. Like he wanted to talk about he wanted to be a Met because all he wanted was his own office because he's a business guy, and they wouldn't do that, so he picked the Yankees. Whatever baloney he was saying on ESPN one night, we're gonna have to deal with him on ESPN tomorrow. He's announcing, but we did fortunately from that get a sponsorship with Presidente. So we are sponsored by Presidente. They send us beer. We have Presidente Light. We're like one of the few people down here in Jersey that have actually tried it. It's freaking delicious. It's great. But he gave us some money. So I was trying to convince Corey to use that so we could go on that LA trip, because I think that's going to be an awesome experience. The whole Trevor Bauer thing, another guy that you said we dodged a huge bullet with, right? So we're hoping that obviously goes out without a hitch. And we piggybacked one time your second Boston trip. We weren't in your group. We didn't get tickets, but we were there and we did a live podcast, and it was a lot of fun. And you guys, that energy, you could just feel it. Even if you weren't a part of it, you could feel. You did like a parade all the way to Fenway from the bar, I guess you guys tailgated at, and everybody was like, what the hell is this? Like Boston and Met fans that saw it for the first time. So it was kind of cool.
What?
I can't wait to get back at the games. It's the Boston one was real fun. I can't wait to get back. I mean, it's, it's such a big part of what we do. Like I was saying in the beginning, socializing and the atmosphere is something that's so important to being a fan. And I can't wait to get back to it.
So talking about getting back, what is your favorite ballpark, not Citi Field? Your favorite ballpark you visited that's not Citi Field?
That's tough. You know what it is too? I was talking to someone recently about the different outing experiences, and I feel like obviously you want the Mets to win, but when they lose, I feel like I don't care about that ballpark anymore. You know, like we won in Colorado, and I was like, oh, I loved Colorado because we won. You know, we won in Kansas City. We had such a great time. But I bring up Colorado because what they did that was fun in their ballpark. I guess they noticed that a lot of the bars in the area were transitioning to like rooftops. So they were doing like rooftop bars and places to hang out around the ballpark, or people were spending a lot of time around the ballpark but not going to the game. So they actually knocked out a ton of seats and built their own rooftop in the ballpark where there's no seats up there, but you could buy a ticket for it in the ballpark, which was really cool. Awesome. Pittsburgh is awesome. Just the vibe of them closing the street down before the game and after the game. And you could see the bridge in the background when you're sitting there at the game. That's a great one too. I really like the new Atlanta ballpark because they call it, I think they call it the Battery. So the first one that we went to, Turner Field, which I think was their second one. Now they're on their third ballpark, if I'm not mistaken. But the latest one we went like 2 or 3 years ago, and that's incredible too because it's not actually in Atlanta. I think it's north like a half hour or so. But once you get to the hotel, you're there for like the weekend because it's the hotel. The game is steps away. All these bars and restaurants, little delis, and little community there. So that's a really fun one too. It's tough to pick a favorite, but of course you'd have to always say Citi Field.
Yeah, well,
even though there's nothing to do around there. Even though there's nothing to do, you got to still stick with what you know. You know,
it is tough. But you with McFadden's, you hit the nail on the head. Like I've sat there. My wife works in New York. I work in Philly. But on my days off, I'll convince her to meet us at the game. And Peyton and I will go to that restaurant and sit there. And we're the only people there. Like everybody's like, "Hey, why are you here?"
Yeah.
Like during a weekday.
Right.
So it doesn't carry, and I'm, and I heard on your pod, you were talking about how they were trying to piggyback off the 7-line. And then ironically, because of those management changes, they didn't pay you. Like
they called me. I had a mutual friend that worked for their, you know what it is, McFadden's. I don't know what the company is that owns McFadden's, but there's a bunch of bars under their umbrella. And someone texted me, a friend of a friend, and they said, "Hey, so-and-so is going to give you a call. I don't know what they want to talk about, but just, are you down to take the call?" So yeah, sure. And at the time I was battling anxiety for a while, like pretty hard. And I noticed that for me, it would calm my brain a lot to start writing notes and journal entries and stuff. So I was writing down pretty much everything I was doing. So I have like a journal of like the first few years of the 7-line of, the dates and times and things I was doing. And I wrote down, I looked it up the other day. This guy called me from corporate and they had heard that I wanted to open a bar, and I started the Twitter account, the 7-Line Saloon. And I was talking about how I wanted to really kind of take over the neighborhood and whatever I wrote. And I guess they got nervous because they said, the 7-Line's big and the people usually go, when we plan a pregame party, we'll have a ton of people show up. We'll go on the road and pick a bar and they have to basically close down their capacity because we fill it up, So I guess they were nervous that they weren't going to be like the only bar in town. So they said, we'll bring you in as a partner, change the name to the 7-Line, whatever. And I think the way it was structured was like I wasn't going to even have to pay for it. Like they wanted to just get me involved and change the name, and then I still turned them down. I'm like, nah, I'm not interested. So that's how that went down. But long term, that would have been crazy, right?
Yeah, long term, it seems like it was the right move. Also, like I was explaining you to my nephew who's 18, Johnny, and he goes, "Oh, kind of like the guy Shay that's on the wall." And like when I was describing you, I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like you're not William Shea, but in a lot of ways, like you're transforming what it is to be a Met fan, and I think that's really, really cool. From just selling TVs out of shirts out of a backpack. Sorry, I sell TVs for a living. And to yeah, if you need one, let me know. Just message me. And just going and evolving this, I could see where the anxiety goes because this network is the Give Us a Shot network. We got that from the Terry Collins. You got to give us a shot. So that was like our little ode to the Mets, and with his little Noah Syndergaard tyrant. But the biggest thing I wanted to say was, yeah, you've had to not only is this your baby and you got to protect it? But I obviously that was the right move. When it comes to your shirts and stuff like that, speaking of my family, my daughter, I'm not allowed to buy any of your shirts without approval because everybody gets them for my holidays. So like they're like, no, you can't get that. Like we're getting you that. So I'm always sending links of your product to get. This shirt that I'm wearing today, I bought during the COVID situation. And I thought it was really cool because I don't think I'd ever get to go to a Rumble Ponies game, and especially not with the 7-Line. And I was like, when I saw this, and I was like, let me help out a small business that's not begging for anything, but obviously would have easily sold these at his outing or got whatever little profit was from that outing. But also like, it was something cool during these crazy times. You guys did a lot of stuff. You did like bingo trivia with your partner from Orange and Blue thing. And, how was it? You dressed up as Elf too, to deliver presents, man. You did everything you could do to keep yourself relevant without, putting on a hat and begging. I thought it was really cool and something, that I admire. But also I see that anxiety because it's yours and you could see how you could grow it, but you also want to make sure your vision doesn't get lost by anybody else. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. The last year was definitely rough. People had it way worse than we did. So I don't want to, sound sorry for myself here, but, not having the kiosk open at the ballpark, not being able to use our truck. I purchased the 7-Line truck. It was an old FedEx truck and outfitted it to basically be a mobile store. We were doing street fairs and things like that. So that hasn't brought in a dime. The Citi Field kiosk hasn't brought in a dime, and no outings at all. And again, I don't want people to think like we only do the outings because it turns a little bit of a profit. But if I buy $100 ticket from the Red Sox, I sell it for $100, but then we package in the shirt aspect to it because that's what the royalty we pay Major League Baseball. So we're not, bringing in huge profits here over the games, but we haven't even had that. So the last year has been tough, and I don't want. Again, I'm not trying to sound desperate here or anything, but like everyone that did come to the site over the past year did help us out tremendously. Even like you said, picking up that jersey that would have been for the Binghamton game, that not only helped the Rumble Ponies a little bit, who were definitely struggling, and helped us a little bit too. So yeah, we're trying to just roll with the punches, do what we can, and not. I don't want to use the word. I don't want to use the word marketing with it, because in the beginning, I almost shut down completely in the beginning I didn't feel like it was fair for us to be like, hey, buy this t-shirt, even though you got to buy grocery, like I wanted to position ourselves in such a way where I was being tasteful with our marketing and telling people there are much bigger things to worry about right now. But if you do have the extra money to spend, we do have this hat coming out on Friday. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're worrying about where you're going to get your next meal or what's going to happen with your kids, don't buy stuff right now. Because I get emails all the time. Even recently, we put up a jersey and it was very expensive. Prices went up, and I wish I could do something about it. But, Majestic and the league, the prices for jerseys went up. So it was $300 jersey. And people were writing me messages like, hey, I might get my stimulus next week and this and that. I'm thinking like, man, you're getting this money. Like, you should be spending it on something. Don't give it to me. Don't give it to us. Go spend it on something that you really, really need right now, not a $300 Mets jersey, And some people were lucky this past year. Their bottom line hasn't changed at all. Some people were working home, still making a full paycheck, and they can spend that money. They can spend on XYZ. But, I wanted to be very precise with our wording and marketing, and I think that we did that. So that was good. We were also able to raise a bunch of money for charities. So we donated thousands upon thousands of dollars to City Harvest and Long Island Cares, two foundations out here trying to help feed hungry people. And, we try to do the right thing, and I hope that people notice that.
That's great. That's great. Poor timing on my part, because I think with your marketing and your advertising, You said it. I mean, you delicately did a little bit of a tap dance to kind of make it known, hey, we're here. If you're interested, but it wasn't like shoving things down your throat like Amazon or Home Depot, or it's like, hey, you're home, you might as well pay to redo your entire lawn and stuff like that. But I do want to touch on some products, starting with these Mercury Met hats. How on earth did you get your hands on those, and how awesome of a find that is? There's got to be a story behind that.
Well, the Mercury Mets, it's pretty funny because in 1999, all of MLB did this turn ahead the clock promotion, and the Mets decided that their promotion was going to be the Mets were going to play on Mercury for whatever reason. I don't know who decided that, but that's what they came up with. And the year they were supposed to be fast forwarding to was 2021. So it kind of made sense that if we're going to bring the hats back, then this would be the year to do it. And they kind of, to be honest, I'm probably not going to wear the hat. I think that it looks better just to kind of like have it as something. Oh, it's already on the screen. Lizzie's trying to throw me one. I think it's, fans like to buy something that kind of means something to them. And when they're walking around, if they want to wear the hat, it's kind of like a cap tip to that 1999 year where if you know, if you don't, then you don't. But bringing them back kind of just seemed to make a whole lot of sense. But again, it's not like this beautiful looking hat. It is what it is. But I think that there is such a niche market to this type of thing where if you're a diehard Mets fan and you really want one and you want to like commemorate having something cool and limited from, back in the day, then you might want to pick one up. So we only made 72, which for us is not a lot of hats. So when we order hats, a new cap, we'll order hundreds at a time, especially when we're confident they're going to sell through. With this, though, it's such a niche market where I was like, all right, do we go hard on it or do we just go conservative and order 72? So we ordered the 72 and they were gone in a minute, like not even a minute. So I pressed refresh and they were gone. We're already getting the hate emails and everyone getting pissed off at us on the internet. So then the way the deadlines work with New Era, you could put your orders in. I think it's every few weeks you could put an order in, and then you got to wait months for them to come in for manufacturing. So the deadline to get a new order in was last Friday. So I didn't have time to do another pre-sale. So people were like, oh, why don't you pre-sale it so everyone can get it? But we would have missed out on like 3 more weeks. So I just told New Era, I'm like, all right, the 72 sold out. Let's do 2.5 times that on batch 2. So basically took all the sizes and just times them by 2.5. So we have 216 caps coming in about 2 months. So that's the story with that. But I really wasn't sure what to expect because it's such a certain specific type of fan that wants that kind of hat. And I guess I underestimated by a lot. So maybe it took a minute for the first 72. Maybe it'll take 4 minutes for the 216. We'll see.
I double checked my hat to see my size again, like just so I got the right one, and it was gone. I was like, whoa, that escalated so quickly because there was some people saying that this was a bad move, like it wasn't a good idea to do. What did Jeremy say? All right, good.
So I think I was
nervous. That's why I was nervous. It's everything I do is a guess. I have 2 employees. It's me, Lizzie, and Megan works part-time, and that's it. So a lot of the stuff we do is a gamble, and we don't have unlimited money here. The times are weird in 2021, and I'm not trying to buy merch that's going to just sit on the shelves if it doesn't sell. Right. So I started conservative, and I guess I was wrong, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it was the right move. You could not gauge how many people would want that because it's kind of like a running joke with the Mets, like that whole thing. Like they had Ricky Henderson like as a Martian on the on the screen. I always see that one.
They're so I love the hats. I love them just because that, like you said, that niche kind of mentality that people are looking for. But also there's been this uproar of Met fans, and I want to talk about the black jerseys. There's been a huge push about we want the black jersey. So what's your opinion on that?
He loves it.
I love them. I don't want the team to wear them as like an everyday thing. I don't want the jerseys to be back in rotation all the time. I think that they look great in blue, like the solid blue top, or the pinstripes, and the road grays are gorgeous as well. I like their jerseys. I like all of them, but I feel like as a once in a while thing, keep the fans happy, get, Pete Alonso and Marcus Stroman and all these other guys that have been pushing so hard for it, get them happy. But I think as an everyday thing, or even a once in a while, like a once a month, I think that would be too much. I think do a couple days a year. And, from a marketing side or from a business side, not even for us, I'm saying for like Nike now, who makes the on-field jerseys, this makes so much sense. It's not even funny, because as long as they wear them a couple times on field, then they are considered on-field authentics again. So like I said about our jerseys being $300, a name and number authentic on-field jersey, like a Pete Alonso jersey, is like $340 now. It's crazy loot. Right. So they're going to make so much money off this. I think that in general, though, black merchandise always sells out. Look at our website, look at what we put up, and someone's like, oh, why do you make so much black stuff? It's because it sells. You can't see sweat stains as much in it. White gets, people are like, oh, I don't want a white shirt. I don't want a white jacket because I'm going to get mustard on it at the game. I'm like, well, number one, you're a sloppy eater if you can't not get food on yourselves. But number two, black goes with everything. So like a black hat, a black shirt, a black jacket, whatever, it goes with everything as far as like matching. So home run on their part. How often they're going to wear them, I'm not sure. There's conflicting reports out there, because Steve Cohen with Wayne the other night said they'll wear them a few times, and then Pete Alonso saying every Friday. So I don't know who's in charge here, but at least we know they're going to wear them at some point this year. And we also haven't seen what they're going to look like. I don't know if they're going to be just straight up remakes of the old one, or if they're going to have a brand new black jersey. I have no idea. I'm excited to see it, though. I'll definitely buy one.
Yeah, me too. And I hope the jacket comes back as well, because I think like it would be weird to just wear the current jacket as it gets colder. So those were fire. The blue sleeve, and I had that, I think, all through middle school and high school. Like I had that jacket going. So my favorite shirt of yours is the My Era in black, because that's exactly what it was. I can't picture Mike Piazza in any other uniform than that one. He looks weird in blue for me. I don't know. It's just, that's what it was. I think of, we had Cliff Floyd. I think of him. Even Mo Vaughn, when I think about when he was on the team, I think about him in that jersey. So it's just, it's just the right thing to do. I'm glad Pete's a huge fan of it. Speaking of Pete, he would pay Lindor $400 million. So maybe we wish he was or Lindor's new agent. But look, I hope a deal gets struck with that. But also it's, you said it. There was two things on that is concerning about this. One, how it leaked out through SNY. Like it felt like old school Wilpon era type things are leaking out. Like how many times did Martino try to trade Noah Syndergaard in the last 3 years? You know what I mean? So like that, I hate when that hits the social media. And I get it. It's the kind of world we live in. But what's your take on that whole scenario? And are you happy that we offered him that much? And also, would you extend him to 12 years?
It's funny. After I heard that yesterday, other people were writing this as well on the internet. If Lindor does get that money, he owes Pete now like $15 million for giving him the $400 million endorsement there. Of course, I'm happy the Mets offer. The offer I feel like is very fair. $325 million. Imagine we were even saying this a couple of years ago with the previous ownership that were even attempting this. But it's not my place to say. I'm not Lindor, So if he thinks he's worth more than he wants to gamble on himself, that's his prerogative. But I am a little nervous about it because I don't want to see backlash against him or against Steve Cohen. I'm listening on the Fan this morning, and they're saying, "Oh well, if Lindor doesn't sign this extension, then he's going to get booed at Citi Field," which I don't think I'm not going to boo him. It's the guy's. It's a business, and he's gambling on himself basically. But I would hope that what the Mets, whoever reported it, whether it was Martino or SNY, when they said this is their last and final or best offer, I'm hoping there could be some middle ground there. Maybe they go 11 years instead of 12. Get a little flexible, put some opt-outs in there, and hopefully he bites. But I guess time will tell. I think the deadline's today because he didn't want to deal with it during the season, and the season starts tomorrow. So I don't know if they're really going to be doing business like the morning of opening night. But if you remember, the DeGrom extension a couple years ago was basically like a day or two before that season started also.
Right.
So I guess we'll see what happens. We got an interesting day ahead of us if it actually happens. But I have a Lindor T-shirt waiting to go up on the website if he signs the extension. But we'll see. I mean, my fingers are crossed.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I also like having a player of that magnitude on a contract year is great for us too, like in hindsight, because he's never going to half-ass it, like Cano got a lot of scrutiny because they're like, oh, he's a made man, he's going to make this money and all this other stuff. And I always thought, like, especially when he got PEDs and suspended, like he didn't have to do that. He could have just got DFA'd, got paid, and moved on with his life. The fact that he still wanted to perform at a level kind of was intriguing to me. So I do like when the athlete kind of goes out and gives it all, like, and you can't really say if he slumps the first 2 months after signing this contract, the fans are going to come after him. I mean, again, when we talked to Cliff said, listen, the Mets fans booed Mike Piazza. They're going to boo you eventually. Nobody's safe. I was also one more.
My concern with it too, though, is the with the whole booing Lindor. I think the way that Steve Cohen has been conducting himself on the internet is a little concerning too on his end, because if this deal doesn't get done, I think that they're going to basically go after Steve Cohen as well. Like, how could you kind of like play with our emotions, go online and kind of almost troll Mets fans? And yesterday he put something up like, we gave him, he's a heck of a player and hopefully he signs. Basically, putting it all on him now. If he doesn't sign, it's his fault, and I don't like that. I feel like it's business is business. And, we're not hearing anything about Conforto. Whatever they're doing is behind closed doors. And I like that. I think that that's kind of the way it should be. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the juicy details. I like being able to like get excited that things are happening on the internet, but there's two sides to it. And I get excited about the hunt, but I also like that there's like a secrecy behind Conforto where we don't know what's going to happen with him. So I wish it wasn't really playing all out in the internet,
Yeah, this is definitely like if we bought a car, like, or like some of your bikes that you have for I saw you have a new version of your motorbike, right? Like that, because you sold your Mets bike, right? And then, or you outgrew it or something?
It is. Well, no. The, bikes only have a certain amount of life on them. They don't go by miles. They go by hours, basically. And I rode a ton last year because I took a 25-year break from motocross because I didn't really have the time to do it. Last year, when every outing got canceled and I wasn't doing anything else, I had a Harley at the time. I sold that, bought a dirt bike, and then just started going to the track again. There's a place on Long Island open every day. It's called 10th Street Motocross in Ronkonkoma. You could buy a membership, same as a gym, basically, and go as much as you want. So I was there almost every day last year, and I started racing again and getting in shape. And so I branded my bike. You can get like decal sets, just like race cars, basically. And I branded the bike as like this whole black Mets bike. It looked like an ode to like the 2000 Mets. And then the end of the season, I sold that bike. And it pained me because I sold it like a couple months after I did the decals. The kid I sold it to is not a Met fan. He showed up at the track like a week after and he ripped all the graphics off. Like, man, if I known you were going to do that, I would have like changed the plastics and kept them and put, some stock ones on. But yeah, he ripped the graphics off. Good kid, but whatever. So I bought a new bike at the end of the year and then just totally rebranded it for this coming race season, which was supposed to start this past week, but it rained on Sunday. So it's going to be April 11th is my new opening day for the racetrack.
That's awesome.
So not to keep you here any longer because we've been talking your head off, but I do have to ask, what is your opening day routine?
Well, this year, who knows? This year, it's going to get a COVID test before I go to the ballpark. Because I don't have my vaccine yet, and now with the restrictions, you got to either show the rapid or the PCR. So I got to figure that out. But normally, it's there is no normal anymore because now I got a 5-year-old, and every year is kind of different. Are we bringing her to school first? What are we doing? But this year, it's going to be basically drop our daughter off to school, go get our tests, and then head down to the ballpark. I know the Mets are trying to cut back on tailgating, so who knows if we could even do that. Normally we go big, especially when we have the whole section sold out. This year we're only going to opening day with 200 fans as opposed to our usual like 900. And I'm happy that we even have that many. So the Mets were awesome with us to be able to allow we have a membership group. So we have 602 members. Our section holds 859. So the difference we usually sell on a game by game basis, which obviously we can't do right now. So about a third of our members are getting to go to opening day. So are we going to tailgate? I have no idea. I think my wife and I at least will. We're not going to have a big party. I'm not going to bring a DJ booth. Our truck is basically a DJ booth. Shout out to Elvis who DJs for us, but I'm not bringing the truck this year. So it's going to kind of be like, let's just enjoy the day, follow the rules, have fun, and take it for what it's worth, and not blow our load too much and get in trouble. Not go down there and be like, oh, we're here, let's tailgate, and then the Mets like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing down here? So we're going to try to do everything the right way and conservatively, and have fun, and be responsible, and hopefully, as the state opens up more. I mean, now anyone 30 years old or older can get the vaccines, and I think starting April 6th, anyone 16 years old or older can get the vaccine. So I'm hoping that by May, maybe we'll see 50%. Who knows? And by June, July, maybe 60, 70%. I don't know.
I'm one of those crazy people that thinks by the 4th of July we'll be close or at least above 75% everywhere.
Well,
so
I hope so.
The Mets did promise. They just sent out a press release that there would still be an hour-long wait at the Shake Shack. So they did commit to that on opening day.
Not for me.
Oh man,
that's tough. We were talking about the food options earlier and going out to restaurants. There's not a whole lot that I could eat at the ballpark. Jeez, I can, but I don't leave my seat anyway. I rush to the bathroom quick, but I don't really eat at the ballpark anyway. But the Aronacci brothers, they have like rice balls, and they had one that was like made with Beyond sausage that was really good. I don't know if it had real cheese in it or not, but I was eating those the last time when we were actually allowed in the ballpark. But there are some options in the ballpark now, so I can't wait to get back in there. It doesn't even feel real. It doesn't feel like next Thursday I'm going to a baseball game.
Yeah, it was definitely like a weird experience. Like I said, we took advantage, and we got to talk to some amazing people that we normally wouldn't have, including you, and talk to you, like, even though it took us a while to get you on the pod, but it's been a crazy time. I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but my daughter, every time I wear my Shea Stadium shirt, my Polo Grounds shirt, she always goes, oh, is that the stadium? I was like, this is Daddy's old stadium. And I explained that. She's like, can I get a shirt of my stadium? And I never knew what she meant. And then I realized she meant Kiddie Field. Like, she wants a Kiddie Field shirt. So I was like, all right, I'll mention to him. She's 4. It's been rough during the pandemic. And I've seen you having that similar life with your kids, because you become, I consider myself her best friend anyway, but like now it was like we couldn't have anybody else over. Like, it was just me. I'm working. I work in retail, so I was still working throughout the whole pandemic. My wife works for iHeartRadio. She was working from home, but now she's got a 4-year-old with her. And it was just like, it was crazy. It was an awesome experience, like in some aspect, but I cannot wait to just sit at a game, have a beer, and like I said, hug some strangers. So we appreciate you for being on with us. 2 more things I want to talk about: the shorts and the shades that I've seen. Like, I cannot. One, I wish they came out last year, because I would have worn them during the entire pandemic while I was sitting at home. But 2, they are amazing, and I can't wait for those. Is there a timetable or anything, or
May? It looks like May for both the shorts and the sunglasses should be here in May. It's funny, every time I post anything, it could be anything, they write back, when are the shorts coming in? The comments are, when are the shorts coming? And I honestly, I had to take a guess on that too. Like, how many do I make? So I have like 1,000 shorts coming here, and I hope I have enough. With the amount of people that are commenting, when are the shorts coming in? I'm getting a little nervous that they're going to sell out immediately, and then we'll have to field all the angry emails again. But we'll see. May. Circle your calendars.
One last thing, Jim Rome. Like, I watched it unfold on Twitter. on WFAN. I know they had you on. I was a little annoyed because what's his name asked, like, hung up, and then he talked. The dude that runs WFAN, he's retiring. Chernoff. Yeah, he didn't want to talk while you were still on. Yeah, he wanted to talk after you were done talking to the guys about what happened with that whole thing and defending Jim Rome, and rightfully so. I guess that's his guy or whatever. But did he ever reach out to you at all about that whole scenario, or did his team?
No, he put out his own retraction. Like 2 days later or so, he put out a retraction, and I thought that was pretty cool. Like, I dropped my daughter off to dance, and I'm sitting in the car because you're not allowed inside. And I'm listening to the Sports Minute, whatever it was. For anyone who doesn't know the story, Jim Rome basically misquoted Sandy Alderson to throw the Mets under the bus by saying Sandy caught himself when he was explaining Jared Porter. He's like, I don't think we would have hired him had we known any of this prior. And then he stopped himself. Then he said, in fact, I know we wouldn't have. But they chopped it and only said the beginning part to make the Mets and Sandy look bad. And I was like, what is this BS? So, I started hammering Jim Rome on the internet. And then I wrote a blog post, and the next morning the fan had me on. So what was that? Like their show's 6 to 10. And I think by like noon that day, Jim Rome had already put up a retraction. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the whole quote. And, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. No, I was the passion behind it. And like when you were talking and even the tweets made me excited because Sandy was a huge part of our World Series in 2015 getting there. And, you had that picture that you always share of him because he was battling cancer, so he couldn't be with the club celebrating. He was weak and probably could have gotten sick if he was around that many people. So he's like kind of like 10, 12 rows deep, just watching what he built celebrate. And I just always thought that was an awesome
thing too. Is what I was saying to the guys in the fan too. It was like, listen, we're the only one. Mets fans are the only ones that could talk crap about the Mets. Like we're like, it's like a family member. Like I'm allowed to talk crap about them because that's my family. And I'm like, you got Jim Rome over here throwing shade on something that wasn't even true. And I'm like, F this guy, So yeah, that was pretty cool.
One last thing, don't forget about it. The Cohen artwork that you want to make into a bobblehead or at least a T-shirt or something like you got to do that for us because it's hilarious. Because he spent like 2/3 of what he spent on the Mets on that piece of art. So
it's crazy. I always picture this thing like to be like small. I don't know how big this sculpture is, but I'm sure it's probably pretty big if you spent that much money on it. But I did hear back that we probably are not going to get permission to make this into a bobblehead. So this is breaking news on your show. Breaking news. Yeah, you know what it is? Like I guess like the legality behind it, even though they bought it. I don't know if they technically own the rights to the image of it. There's a bunch of different rules. So I don't know if it's like the, I don't know what the rules are with that. So it's the same thing with like certain images and certain things. You can't just do whatever you want. So even though he bought the thing, I don't think that we'll be able to manufacture anything with it without the permission of the sculptor, which I don't think he's even alive anymore. The guy who made it, so his estate or whatever. I don't know, a lot of red tape, so it's not worth it. But it was a fun idea while it lasted. And who knows if anyone's going to even want that bobblehead anymore if this Lindor deal doesn't go down and people start hating on Steve Cohen. They might not want that sculpture bobblehead anymore.
His negotiation on that and a couple other pieces of art, like he ended up like offering something and then retracting it and then paying even more. So that might happen with Lindor. I mean, he's not the greatest.
I think that was a house. That was a house. What like him and someone else were trying to him and somebody else were trying to buy a house, I guess. So I think the story goes that the other guy that was in the running, he knew him. So he's like, listen, you're not going to win. I'm going to outbid you. So why don't you just like walk away? And I think he may have paid the guy to walk away and then still bought the house for like ridiculous amount of money. So yeah, it's like for them, it's like Monopoly. For us, it's like, holy shit, that's like millions upon millions of dollars,
Yeah. Also, one more suggestion to Steve Cohen. He should actually just help Lindor invest that money. And then I could turn that 300 million or whatever it is, 400 million into like $1 billion, so he's got that aspect of it. I have the tools that help you, build yourself. Because if you look at, we talked about him a lot, and I wish we didn't. But if we're probably going to lose our sponsorship. But if you, when you look at ARod, like he's made more money outside of baseball than in.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, he's on Shark Tank with Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to save up for that percent. You know, I want to get a percent of the team one day, so I get the business card that says minority owner. You know,
That's all.
So anyway, anyone listening or watching, go buy some T-shirts so I could start stuffing away for my percent. You know, I got to get involved in the team ownership group.
Future minority owner, Darren from the 7Line. Guys, check out the 7line.com. Enjoy opening day, Darren. Enjoy actually getting to the field, open up a beer, and breathe in that fresh air.
Thank you. Man. I can't wait to be there, and I'll be sure to document it all along social if anyone wants to follow along on April 8th at Citi Field.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for talking to us this morning, Darren. This was great. Welcome to The Divide with Mike and Corey.